This band. I like this band. I wrote it down so I don't forget who they are. Oh, I remember. Fuck it. We're back, and boy, am I excited. I get excited for new metal projects from the underground, the independents out there, bringing you the real music, not that watered-down commercial stuff that you got over on your greasy grandpappy's radio player. We got Corpse Paint Records here, Andrew Spaulding, and we're going to talk about some doom, some gloom, some sludge, some goth. He's got a band that hits on his label, a super group, and I mean super is an understatement. I've been hearing some of these songs, and it's giving me chills. It's bringing the graveyard to life in my backyard. I didn't even know I had one. Zombies are digging out of it for this music. Bats, rats, cats, gnats. It's a pleasure. Andrew, I'm so glad we could finally connect, my friend. How you doing today?
Dude, wow, what an introduction, man. Like, you know what? I think I'm going to need a nap. I love it. Thank you, man. I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, man, that's how excited I am about this project too, dude. I'm so grateful. We're dropping the record on April 1st, Wednesday. So here it is, dude. It's been almost 3 years in the making.
You want to share with these good people how insane this project is, the people in this band, how the legacies in this band, yet the songs sound as fresh as anything. It sounds like a brand new band coming out of nowhere, but season, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, man. So this was really a dream project of mine. I was fortunate enough to be a roadie back in the day for Typo Negative and Danzig, and I met Kenny and Johnny out on a Danzig run, and then they brought me out on a Typo, and I was up with Typo until Peter passed away, and developed a friendship with those guys. But I lived in New Orleans, and Kirk and Todd are from New Orleans. And when I wasn't on tour, I worked at the House of Blues. And so I would see a lot of friends come in and out, and Kirk and Todd would either be playing or they would be coming to shows to see their friends that would be coming in and out of town. So we got to know each other. And then we also shared a really close mutual friend, Matt Brunson, who's the guitar player in Crowbar. And I shared a mutual friend named Craig Johnson. Shout out to Craig. And so it seemed like every direction I had this connection to Crowbar, and Kirk and I became close when he understood, I worked for Typo, and Peter was a huge influence in his career. So we naturally gravitated there. I gave him a lot of cool Peter inside stories and stuff, and him being a fan, obviously he was interested in. So that kind of was the building block of this. And, that relationship of all of us just being buddies for like 10 years. I was running a Pizza Hut franchise, and I wasn't doing anything music related, but I always had this idea and pushed it to the guys that I would want to do something like this. And they always were like, yeah, oh yeah, sounds cool. Well, dude, here it is. I can't tell you how long in the pot, in the gum, in stirring it, that it's been from an idea to when the band did Dreams Always Die with the Sun, which was the first single that were recorded in Gainesville, Florida, to where we are now. It's been quite a journey, from band name change and from just putting it together. Like those guys knew each other throughout the years from being peers, but they haven't worked together. They've never spoken musically as far as instrument, that language.
Right.
So that was something new. And so, so yeah, I got all the guys on a plane, centered them in Florida, and out came Dreams. And that was kind of the testing ground to see what would happen. And as they were developing the idea, Kenny reached out to Kirk and said he had a couple ideas for riffs. And Kirk said, great. If you want to send them to me, you can. And if you can't, that's fine. And so Kirk really didn't hear anything until right in rehearsal. And Kirk came up with his riff right on spot. And they decided in the moment that they didn't want to take this band and make it, Typo Negative meets Crowbar. Because on the surface, that's what a lot of folks are going to see and anticipate. And that almost takes the fun out of it, because we can almost kind of imagine what it sounds like. And no offense, it's not going to sound as good as the other two, right? I mean, if you've already got the best, so you might as well not try to copy or make it
Right.
identical. You're gonna have to put a new flavor, a new spice in it to and so they spoke about what they were interested in growing up and what got them to playing music, and that became the baseline for the sound of the band of teenagers stepping into it. Almost felt like it was after school, and these were the rockers at the school. They're in the garage, they're plugging in, and the band was melting. You could almost rewind the clock, and it felt like that. It really felt like the beginning of a garage band that had that four on the floor, organic roots. These Kenny from Typo Negative and Kirk from Crowbar didn't step into that room. Uh, Kenny Hickey and Kirk Winstein did. You know what I mean? And they
Right.
just happened to be from those bands. And so when they brought
Yes.
their personalities out on there, that it meshed really well. And immediately everyone felt. I mean, when it took off, it took off. Like they were playing a song within 30 minutes of just it was really just showing the pieces, and then it organically happened. You couldn't have asked for a better scenario without forcing anything. It happened.
It's that's a perfect description of it, because that's what I was expecting first was right. One part type. I got to get my Crowbar tattoo still. I got to get my
Okay,
Crowbar
yeah,
tattoo.
yes,
But
yes.
two of my favorite bands of all time, and I grew up on Long Island, New York, so I was out there when
Okay,
Typo was first coming up and Carnivore and all that
yeah,
stuff. And Crowbar bought their first album the day it came out. I was a teenager, just changed my whole life. And I expected when I heard this to just sound like that. I couldn't believe the vocal delivery. I couldn't believe the different trajectories the songs went in. And I feel like everything sounds different and everything sounds new. I hear it's like the Typo and Crowbar part, they're like ghosts in the far background. You know what I mean? They're in that
yeah,
far
yeah,
background, bringing that darkness and everything. But this sounds like, if you didn't tell me, if someone didn't say Sun Don't Shine is Typo and I'd have no idea. I would have no
yeah,
idea it's those guys at all. That's how fresh that sounds, and that vocal. I didn't know it was him on vocals. I really
yes.
didn't know. I'm sitting there going like, who's
Kenny's got
singing
some
in this
pipes.
band? Yeah.
Yes, Kenny's got some pipes for sure. He and I think he's mentioned in several interviews, he wants Kirk to be more involved, but he goes, as a singer, you're naturally you want to be lazy, you want somebody else to do it, and he goes, especially when you got two guitar players. He's like, Kirk's a
Right.
guitar player, and I'm a guitar player. We're guitar players that had to become singers. We're not singers that became guitar
Right.
players. And so,
Yeah.
it's still singing is not a chore, if you will, but it's still the thing that you have to work to. We're playing the guitar part. That's the fun, So
That's a fun, and that when you're dealing with these guys, you're dealing with four legends, icons, right, to the metal industry.
yeah,
These are people that have seen it all, done it all, toured everywhere, conquered metal, taken it to places no one could believe. Are there any ego issues when these guys are working together?
man, I'll tell you, it's been so cool. It's again, I'll use that high school reference. It's like these guys have known each other forever. I
Yeah.
guess living the parallel lives of being from the same age group, being
Yeah.
peers in the industry of, Crowbar and Typo Negative and Down have almost mirrored each other. One was from New York, one was from New Orleans, but years
Right.
active and how they started and the clubs they played, they passed each other on the highway, for decades,
Yeah.
all over the world, I should say, for
Right.
decades between the touring acts. So there was already a lot of camaraderie and like synergy in place. And when you consider that Kirk and Todd were cut from the same stone and just like Johnny and Kenny, that
Right.
they're cut from the same stuff. It was actually almost just like putting two guys together versus a four because of how
Right.
well and the history and the friendship that goes before Crowbar and Typo Negative existed. Like Kenny and Johnny's friendship is from high school and before the bands, and same with Kirk and Todd. They've
Yeah.
just known each other for, before what we know them from. So it was really, we got those guys approach to
Right.
playing the songs and I think that's why it sounds fresh. And they felt so comfortable because there wasn't really, like I said, any learning. It was just all they had to do was speak. And Kenny would be like, "Oh, you remember that Kiss thing?" And Kirk would be there. Blah, blah, blah. So it was there wasn't they could reference when they were trying to go for something in a song in one word. They'd be like, kind of like back up, oh yeah. And it was just this chemistry was already laid down.
Yeah.
It was fun watching the New Orleans versus New York, the Big Easy versus the Big Apple, New
Right.
York minute, taking your time. It was great watching that. It could be a good YouTube channel
Yeah.
because it's literally personality wise. A lot of the times it's opposite as far as the output, but the input's the same. Like the message,
Right.
like it's authentic, it's
Yep.
real. There's no bullshit. It
Right.
just takes folks from New Orleans a little longer to tell you about it, and because maybe they're
That's
not
all.
as in a hurry to tell you
Right.
they're authentic versus somebody in Brooklyn who ain't got time. But it's the same message, if that makes
It's
sense.
and that's a great point. I had Kirk on here a few episodes back, and we were talking about. I went to New Orleans. It was
Yeah,
20 years ago, but I loved it. I saw the difference is definitely a lot laid back compared to what I was used to in New York. A lot faster, but the same type of people to me, the same type of
yeah,
caring people, nice. New York could get a bad reputation for that, but you go there and people are very welcoming and they want to help you out. And you
it's
go to New
true.
Orleans and they're over welcoming
It's true.
and then the foods they both have. I was telling them I went to New Orleans and I overdosed on crab legs, actually in Biloxi, Mississippi, at a casino, 10 plates of them.
Yeah,
Couldn't eat them for
yeah,
a
man,
year. And
you
then
could do that.
social crab poor boys and shrimp poor boys in New Orleans, and just everything about that city, the darkness, the it's loving though. They've been through some both cities have been through a
Yeah,
tremendous amount of pain, right? And I think
hmm
that's also something that bridges them together. And it's a great example to show bands, newer bands coming up, right? That you could come from different places. You could be the go, 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 you could be the more laid back, but if you work together, this comes out. And I mean, it just I really I thought I went back in time in a sense that I don't hear albums nowadays that I get super excited about. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff, a lot of
sure.
bands go through the motions, and a lot of legacy
Yeah,
acts just keep on doing the same. This
that's
was
true.
exciting because it's different. It just
I
I don't hear
agree.
anything else like it.
That's how it felt. I mean, I know I'm a little bit biased, right? But I'm a fan first, right? Like I grew
Right.
up a rocker. Like I from day one, I've always been a music guy. I've always had my finger on the pulse. Like this
Yep.
just didn't fall into my lap.
Right.
It's in my DNA to do something in the business. It's always been what I've been attracted to.
Yeah.
So it was it was awesome to see it, trust in that intuition and see it come together
Right.
with these guys. And I think the friendship was the foundation to of that comfortable, is that there was such a amount of trust already between all of us that that was kind of already known. So a lot of the of not of having somebody that you both are closely super tight with, because it's almost like we'd have conversations, because when I'd be getting drunk with Kirk at the bar when we drank,
Right.
I'd be like texting Kenny and be like, "Hey, you Brooklyn piece of shit," blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, or whatever, and back and forth, So
Yeah.
it's been like there's been this relationship for a
Yeah.
long, and Matt Brunson, the Crowbar guitarist, Matt and Kenny toured together in Kingdom of Sorrow because Down
That's right.
got offered a Metallica gig, and Down had to go out, and Kenny filled Kirk's spot in Kingdom of Sorrow
Crazy.
on a run. So
Yeah.
some weird synergy there, because Typo Negative and Hatebreed just finished a Jägermeister run, and Josta was going to be pulling out the Kingdom of Sorrow, and asked Kenny to fill in for Kirk
Yeah.
since the Down Metallica gigs happened. So there's always been some connectivity within everyone, just unconsciously already.
Yeah, and it's great, and you hear it, and all these guys have great reputations. They really do. These old guys you hear really good stories about, and all great accomplishments. And here you are getting this all together. And when you got to get it released, right? You got to get physical media, you got to get digital. How is that when you have a project like this? Are there, what are the stresses of getting a project like this out, promoted, out in the stores?
Yeah, man, it's been difficult because there's been a lot of help. So I don't want to come off the cuss and say that I'm not grateful, because you're probably going to find the
Sure.
most grateful guy. I guess I was a little naive to how much work was going to be involved. I was surprised on how difficult it can be to turn over a new band name, to get somebody knowing a new
Right.
band. The guys' legacies are great, but as soon as you say "Sun Don't Shine," nowhere in there does that bring a resume, right? So
Right.
it's familiarizing people with that opportunity, and that's like anything. It's almost the same perspective of being a brand new band and not having it presents the same kind of challenge. Luckily, the
Yes.
name could open the door to have a podcast where I can get the opportunity to
That's
do
right.
these things. But I've also had to, pay for it, and that was something that coming into the label that I was thinking about having the record out. I didn't think
Yeah.
about the logistics of that. I had to learn real quick, but I did,
Right.
and I did have folks that did open the doors, that did
Yep.
live, but a lot of it I fought for myself. A lot of it was cold messaging, DMs, and believing in yourself. Luckily, again, my resume was pretty solid, so if somebody could give
Right.
me the time of day, I got it. But I still had to knock on the door. It just
Yeah.
wasn't automatically open. Sure, the conversation went smooth once they opened it, but it was
Right.
still a lot of cold knocking. Believe it or not, I was surprised.
And you know what? And that is also great stuff to hear. I love when I hear stories like this for people out there going, I'm trying to start a label. I'm trying to start a band. And the biggest thing I've noticed, the biggest pattern is what we know doesn't happen. Everyone's waiting for that tap on the shoulder, Come just come tap me on the shoulder. And it's like you've got to keep knocking on. And I know that with me, and I'm a very impatient person. I'm very manic. I get very angry when things are not moving my way. And I've been learning more and more to comment. Who's helped me a lot is Brittany from Are You Afraid of these riffs
Oh, she's
on it.
fantastic. Yeah, shout out to her as well,
Hey,
Brittany.
Brittany,
She's helped me
she's
out a ton. Oh my God.
right. She knows how to tame the beast. Sometimes and I'm like, rah, rah. She's like, "Are you done now? Are you done now?" I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "Okay." There's a strategy to get to these certain places you're trying to get to, and you have to be patient, right? And things take time,
Sure.
but you also have to. And it's such a great message because I've seen countless bands. I have a close friend that's he's trying to get a business going and trying to
Yeah.
get out there and do some vending, but he's not putting in the work. He's not
Yeah.
reaching out to the places. And then it's like I can't get into this place, I can't get into that place. And I'll say to him, you got even one email's not going to mean much. One phone call, you
Yes.
got to keep it up. And it sounds like you had to learn that and you had no problem staying the course. How'd you
Yeah.
stay motivated with that? I'm sure there's a lot of roadblocks that get you to go, man,
Dude,
this is too much.
I was grateful. I got sober almost 6 years ago. I stopped drinking
Nice.
and I discovered meditation. And when I
Ah,
discovered meditation, it's completely changed my life. I look at life in a completely different way.
yeah,
I sound like one of those guys that you're like, what is he on? This guy's a woo woo. I wouldn't believe the stuff that I know as truth today. You couldn't have convinced me of 6 years ago with
right.
any amount of money in the bank. So
Sure.
having that, being that meditation has really changed, and it's really a lot to do with this band too. Is the idea of, if you know what the concept of meditation, it means of the things that aren't in the 3D realm, which is the 3D is matter. So radio waves live in 5D, in that invisible realm that we all know that there's information go to our radio antenna, and as soon as we turn on the car, it picks it up. So information lives somewhere. So when you can tap into that information that lives somewhere with your antenna constantly, things start to change. And so I experienced those changes, and owe a lot of the success to meditation, which just means believing in yourself.
Right.
And that's where it all starts. And so I didn't care about knocking on the doors because I had a belief that I know what I was doing was authentic. And as long
Yep.
as I persevered and didn't get discouraged and used that as energy and took that slam door or no answer as like, you know what? Well, that wasn't the right opportunity anyways, because what's right for me is going to find me. And I just got to shift that and say, you know what? Well, this person's going to get the good story. Then this person's going to get the opportunity. And I'm going to, and those opportunities find themselves when you start to look at things through that lens.
That is great, and that's great too for people to hear. Sometimes you got to make some changes in life. Sometimes things like booze can destroy a lot of bands, management, everything. Right? It can be
So
dancing with the devil.
I'll tell you a small story. I discovered meditation through a heavy metal podcast. It was a Jamie Joss's podcast,
Wow.
his podcast, right?
Yeah.
And Joss had on Rudy Sarzo. And Rudy Sarzo at the time was in a band called the Guess Who, which was from my
Yeah.
dad's generation. No Sugar Tonight. We know who the Guess Who is,
Yeah.
right? We're rockers,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So, anywho, I had never met Rudy, but was very familiar with Quiet Riot, Ozzy,
Yeah.
White Snake, Queen's Reich said that he did in Jeff Tate's Reich. So I was very familiar and wondering what he was doing. Saw he was with the Guess Who and was like, that's cool. And during that interview, Rudy Sarzo mentioned this guy, Dr. Joe Dispenza. And in that interview, he mentioned experience that Rudy had. Only this guy, Dr. Joe, could kind of give him what that experience was like. So that stuck in the back of my head. And I Googled Dr. Joe Dispenza, and that's what opened my meditation realm. And a few months later, I was like, man, if I ever meet Rudy Sarzo, I would like to tell him that it wasn't his bass playing that changed my life, but it was mentioning meditation on Joss's podcast. Well, a few weeks later, I'm listening to the Eddie Trunk show, and Eddie Trunk has Rudy on, and Rudy announces that he's going back home to Quiet Riot. A week later, I'm standing in front of Rudy Sarzo and said, I manifested this. I knew I was going to meet you. I put it out there. When you apply the science behind manifestation,
Right.
you get it. And no, it's not about me. That's the ego. It's about universal. And it's weird when you start to learn the mechanics behind it. And you don't go back once you do.
I love it. I love all that stuff. And I mean, I look at Jazz. Jazz is an inspiration of mine. That guy doesn't know how to not be working, right? That guy's doing 35 different things at once. I don't know how he keeps all that stuff on his plate. And Rudy Sarzo, pre-metal horror madman, I was at a convention, and there were some other guys from the 80s there, and I'll be honest, they were really douchey, and they went on benders the night before. They weren't at their boots. It was a horrible experience. And I'm going around, and I go to Rudy Sarzo's, and the guy treated me like he knew me for 50 years. He talked with me. Gold. We talked Theo, Ozzy, Quiet Riot. I bought his book. I wanted to support everything he had there. Give me everything he got signed. I keep him in a special place in my office here. And
me too.
Such a great guy, man. Such a great guy that's seen it all, done it all, and hasn't.
Shout out to Rudy.
Shout out to Rudy Sarzo, one of the greatest of all time. One of the greatest, one of the best. And here you are making all these things happen, manifesting, and the album's coming out, dude. It's all you. It's your universe. We're just floating around it. When is this coming out? When's the album come out?
Dude, Wednesday, April 1st, streaming and CD versions. The vinyl, we got some awesome editions at Revolver. We got some limited blue, limited gray. Those are almost sold out. I got the numbers like a week ago, and we're approaching 400. And nice. Those are going fast. That's where you can get that stuff. But Spotify, Apple, wherever you consume your digital stuff, Wednesday, it's going to be there.
Wednesday, it's dropping. Everybody, you got to grab this thing. I'm telling you, the songs I've heard are ridiculous. It's just a vibe is the best way to put it. It's a vibe. It's got all these dark, heavy sounds, but it's also beautiful and majestic to me. Are they going to hit the road for the album also?
We don't have any dates planned right now, Kirk, as you know, with all the beautiful success we've been seeing with Crowbar, like how amazing. He's busy, and Down's got something coming out as well. So Quiet Riot, Johnny. So I got like to carve out I think Jason McMaster from the Dangerous Choice called it the Window of Time tour is what it'll be called. Cause I've got this window of time. So probably late 26, but more than likely 27. Cause we got to get the guys rehearsed. We got to get them rehearsed. So we got to spend 3 weeks, like 9 to 5, gushing it out and developing that live chemistry, because the studio chemistry and the songwriting chemistry, but now we got to figure out what it's like in between songs and the banter between stages and filling the holes.
Right.
That's a whole other thing that we haven't touched.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's, I mean, and it gives us all time to get to know those songs, right? There's nothing better when you
That's
have
it.
that time to get to learn those songs word for word. That way, when you're out there watching them, we could all sing along. It's actually a perfect
That's it.
plan.
Yeah,
Perfect,
and hopefully
perfect.
we'll see some Crowbar and Sun Don't Shine, or maybe some Down and Sun Don't Shine.
Right?
So yeah, we're going to be open. I know everybody's wanting to play live, and Kurt says we're going to get it live, Rocker. Let me catch my breath. If I try to think about all of it,
Right.
it's too much. But if I think a week at a time, and right now it's not penciled in, but you're on there, and I'll holler at you. So it's going to
Boom.
happen.
So sick. Such exciting news, guys. Get out there. Go follow them. Go listen to them. Sun Don't Shine. They're everywhere. Go follow them on Instagram. Go get them on all your social media apps. Corpse Paint Records. You got to support that's the real metal scene. That's the
Thank you
real
so
metal
much.
scene. These are the people out there that are he's bringing this stuff out here himself. He's making it happen. Those yesteryear days of relying on big labels, that's a clown show. You don't want to get involved with that. You want to deal with the real people like this, who's a fan, who earned his bones doing text, who's made all the connections, knocked down the doors, kicked down the doors, changed his life, manifesting things. Andrew, it's been a pleasure, man. We all got to get out there and support you, support the
Thank
band,
you,
and you're welcome anytime to come back.
Rocker. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Sun Don't Shine, April Fool's Day. Ooh.
Let's go get them.